Hey, how's it going? We just pray. I just want to check in with you all. We are beginning the Sabbath. So it's Friday evening and we're going into the 24, 25 hours of the Sabbath, which is a dedicated time that we set aside to spend with the Lord to reflect on the week that has passed. So I'm just curious, what are you doing to kick off your Sabbath? And based on the way that a lot of us were raised, we were not raised to honor and spend time on a Friday, going into a Saturday, and all day Saturday, spending it with God and allowing Him to download new information into us so that we can assess how our previous week went and how the upcoming week and season could go in our lives. Now, last fall, actually, in October, Dr. K taught us, right? And I call her Dr. K affectionately. She taught us about honoring the Sabbath and how to go about doing that. So, what I've been doing, and I challenge you to do the same, is to begin spending at least 1 hour with God somewhere between Friday and Saturday outside of your traditional worship service, worship experience, whether you go online or in person. It's really important for us as believers to spend that individual time with God outside of our regular devotion, because our devotion, we're giving Him worship, we're giving Him thanks, we're giving Him praise, and He's downloading us information then. But that Sabbath time, it's really a sacred time that we can set aside. It's our appointment with God. We're going to have an appointment with Him because we're going to meet Him, whether we want to or not. We are going to have to face Him. But this is a time that we get to face God when we still have a chance to do things differently. So join me in honoring the Sabbath, seeing if you can dedicate at least an hour. If you can't start off with an hour because you already have plans and you got a full weekend. I understand. But God is calling us not just to a higher place, but He's calling us, period. Before we can go to that higher place, He's calling us. So we got to tap in to what He has for us and go from there. All right. So I just wanted to encourage you to kick off your weekend with God. We start our week with God, right? We just pray. We start off Mondays. We're moving to 7:20 instead of 7:30. And that brings me to my next point. I am so excited. We are going to have Elder Famaya Asbury. She's going to be with us this Monday. So you don't want to miss that. And 7:20, we're going to get started because we want to give Elder Famaya a good amount of time to share what God has given her as it relates to the oil flowing in our lives. We're in part 3 of our series, The Blessing of Obedience. So when we're obedient and we're looking at Deuteronomy 11:14, when we are obedient to God, there are 3 things that He promised before He gets to the fourth one. The things that He promised were, you will have grain, you will have your grain, you will have your new wine, and you will have your oil. So we talked about grain being provision. We talked about new wine being the miraculous in our lives. So we ought to be looking for a miracle. Literally, every day we ought to be looking for a miracle. We ought to be walking in the miraculous. He has provided for us. God has given us grain in different avenues and ways that we can create wealth for ourselves. And now we're going into talking about the oil and what God promises that He's going to give us our own oil, right? He says your oil, not just some oil, the oil. He's going to give us oil. So what does that look like? So I can't wait. I'm going to be talking a little bit. I'm going to open it up on Monday. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the oil, and then we know God is going to show up. He's been faithful in meeting us on Mondays at 7:30, and we trusted that He's going to meet us this Monday at 7:20. So it'll be myself and it'll be Elder Famaya. So I just encourage you to tap in, join in with us, listen as you're getting ready for the day, share the link with a friend, encourage them to listen in because God is truly speaking to us so that we can kick off our week. It's one thing when we listen to something at our convenience, but it's another thing to meet God when He's moving. If you want your week to start right, if you want God to give you um, a week where you get to operate in the miraculous, because I do believe if we're really called of God and to be leaders like we say we are, that when we walk, there ought to be miracles. So we want to look for opportunities for God to show up. And we don't have to help God create a miracle. There's enough people in need. There are people we know or even ourselves that we need miracles, right? So we want to walk in that miraculous hour. So remember, God promises us 3 things for our obedience, right? Those 3 things being grain, the second thing is the new wine, our new wine, right? The miraculous. And then we're looking at what we're going to talk about oil. So let's get ready to talk about the oil. And I'm excited because we're going to talk about the anointed and how God is moving and how He's developing us. So I'm not going to give it all away. So join in and share this link, share the information with a friend. And I cannot wait. Thank you so much, Elder Famaya, for saying yes. For first saying yes to God, and then for saying yes, and then being willing to minister to us on Monday morning. All right. So thank you. It's Sharon Brewster signing off for We Just Pray, and I'll see you all Monday morning.